Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. Robert Oppenheimer, Scientific Director of the Manhattan Project.
Fight seriously, Buu snorted. Is that supposed to intimidate me? Look, I know you haven't been going all out, but whatever reserves you have can't possibly make up the amount of power I just absorbed.
Won't know until I try, will I?
Cocky bastard, Buu growled. You, Goku, you will suffer especially. Never before have I been so comprehensively outfought, and by a simple creature such as he. Unthinkable!
Overhead, the clouds were separating into two layers, an unusually low scattering of small, highly mobile storm clouds, and an upper layer condensing into a solid black mass, blotting out most of the sun's light and letting through only an unearthly red glow. All over the planet, the seas were being whipped up into a fury, and entire island chains vanished between the swirling waters. Raditz was sitting slumped against a rock, which Launch was sprawled on top of. Her head, upside down, peeked down into the top of his field of vision as she leaned over him. "Man, I'm beat," she moaned. "Maybe I shouldn't have given you so much energy." Raditz experimentally tried to move his injured arm, and his nervous system told him in no uncertain terms that this was not a good idea. "You'll live. More surprisingly, so will you." She dropped down next to him, flipping the right way up and sitting down. "I still can't believe what you did." "Well, I wasn't really thinking." He paused, smiling. "But I don't regret it. When this is all over, if it's ever over," she pointed out. "When," he repeated firmly. "My brother can handle Buu. When it's over, I can't wait to see our little girl again." Launch smiled contentedly for a second. Then something clicked and she said, "Hold on, what's this hour? I raised a little tear for 8 years. What did you do?" "You know exactly what I did," he chuckled. "You're very close by at the time. My point exactly. You shouldn't make a kid and run off on them. It's a little thing called commitment." He didn't reply, but she knew what he was thinking. The sheer amount of things about human society growing up as Saiyan had left him unprepared for. Saiyan children were immediately taken from their parents, had their power measured, and assigned a planet to conquer. The parents barely thought about them. At some subconscious level, that detachment had remained, and thoughts of his daughter had barely entered his head when he'd chosen to stay dead. Still, she said tactfully, not to mention honestly, "You came back. You pretty much left paradise behind for us." "No." He looked at her, deadly serious. "No, I didn't leave paradise. I came back for it." Buu bent his legs, preparing to leap.
"I will break you, Saiyan!"
Then, just as he was about to spring, something lurched inside of him, bringing him to a jarring halt.
"What the?"
His body shuddered from head to foot, as if unconsciously protesting.
"What's happening?"
"Pretty simple," a gruff voice said to both Goku and Buu telepathically. "You screwed up." "Piccolo!" Goku laughed. "That is you, isn't it?" "How did you ever guess?" "Now, Buu, you're pretty smart by now. Go on. Tell me what I'm doing."
"I overlooked something."
Buu fumed, twitching and spasming as his ki warred against itself.
"Nail's technique of retaining control of his energy, even when inside an enemy."
"Exactly. And that's my energy you've now absorbed all throughout your body. So, care to guess what happens now?"
"You can't be about to set it off!"
Buu practically whimpered. A suicide attack, Goku realized. Would Piccolo really do something so selfless? Buu echoed his thoughts.
"You'd never do such a thing! You only ever fought me to further your own ends! Your desire for conquest! If you die, you'll never have that chance! You don't think they'd resurrect you, do you?"
"Of course not. But I'm no fool. I know the extent of your power now." There was a pause. "You are right. I'm faced with two alternatives. Let you destroy everything, or drag you to hell with me. Either way, I lose. But I've lived on this world, had designs on it, I guess, for a long time now. I've never even been to my home planet. Call me sentimental, but the thought of losing it entirely, living on forever within you, sounds even worse than just finishing us now."
"You can't be serious!"
"I'm always serious, Buu. You know that. You know me. You absorbed me."
"Don't do it!"
Buu wailed, beginning to glow with steady pulses of red light. "Besides, if you're not stopped here, you're unlikely to overlook Namek, and any race that can produce the great Demon King must have some merit." "Goku." Goku gave a thumbs up. "Never thought I'd say this. Thanks, Piccolo. Whatever. I would say I look forward to our rematch in the next world, but I'd be lying if I didn't admit that I know we won't be going to the same place. Goku nodded somberly. Buu desperately tried to wrest control of his ki, but it was too late. Piccolo's mental speech grew into a shriek of white noise, then cut out entirely. Goku dived for cover, and then everything went white. Majin Buu.
Pain. Separated. Scattered. Broken. Alive. Grow. Fix. Heal. Together. Brain. Think. I am. I am Buu. Majin Buu. I am Majin Buu, and I am now whole in mind. My body is still broken, scattered, 1,000 pieces. I cannot currently be measured for height or width, though perhaps blast radius would work. Surprisingly, I am not dead. After that, the rest is easy.
When Buu's fragmented scraps pulled themselves together, Goku was already up and facing him. Damn, he said, nervous sweat showing itself on his face. I should have vaporized the pieces while I still had the chance. I never thought his regeneration would let him recover from being blown completely to pieces.
Me either.
Buu managed as his mouth reformed.
I had no idea what I was truly capable of coming back from until today. And for that, I thank you all. You've been wonderful sparring partners. But now, even you, the best your planet can throw at me, will fall.
He looked just as he had before, minus Piccolo's cape. Goku said nothing, raising his guard and preparing to re-engage Buu. Buu, however, noticed a slight slowness in his movements, a sharpness of breath, tiny trembles in his limbs, things he tried to hide.
I see.
Buu laughed inwardly.
That threefold Kaioken wore you out more than you let on. No doubt trying to intimidate me by exaggerating the difference in our powers.
Now he reached out with his mind, using the instincts and mental prowess Tien's mind had given him, trying to feel for Goku's intentions and determine his next move.
His state of mind will give away the moment he intends to attack, and I will have the initiative.
However, there was no such warning when the attack came. Goku's mind remained at peace, still as a windless ocean. He became a blur of light, red-sheathed fists flying and catching Buu unawares. However, Buu only took one faltering step back before straightening up, nearly unmarked by the attack.
Is that it? After all that earlier?
He grinned as he raised his own hands to attack.
Perhaps you were counting on me having lost Piccolo's power. Unfortunately for you, in the instant he detonated his energy, I countered with the very same technique of nails, capturing and absorbing every portion of power into the fragments of my body, even as they scattered. Now, Piccolo's energy is permanently a part of me. I may not have his mind any longer, but his strength is all I will need.
Within Buu, Baby warily stood up, lowering his energy shield.
Damn it, Piccolo! I'd almost worked my way up to Buu's head! Now I'm all the way back down to one of his legs. This could take a while.
A footstep echoed in the fleshy corridor behind him, and he ran on. Having satisfied his need to gloat, Buu advanced, throwing quick jabs, testing Goku, pushing him slowly back. Goku responded equally warily, dodging away in quick Kaioken bursts. Buu, quickly growing tired of this, tried to punch at full strength, flooring Goku instantly, blood trailing from the Saiyan's nose and mouth. Goku shouted wordlessly in frustration, controlling his fall and bouncing away with a handspring, but Buu was upon him. Goku fired up to Kaioken, raising his arms to block, but Buu was faster, a kick slipping easily past the defense. Buu spun with the motion, following up with an overhead punch down at his falling opponent. Goku, having remained motionless for a second, again surprised Buu, moving like a spring released. Whipcord muscles tensed, and a roar of building energy filled the air.
Kamehameha times 10!
The mighty blast, however, struck only an afterimage, Buu touching down on a small peak behind him. Goku fell forward, straightening up, swung around to face Buu. His arms stung, shaking from the effort, and he felt drained to the core. I don't think I can manage that again. I have to try something else. He instead reactivated his comfortable ×3 boost, building up for a second energy wave.
Again? Buu snorted. And weaker this time. Very well. If you insist on continuing.
Buu leapt at Goku.
Enough!
Buu's fist struck Goku's stomach, and Buu didn't withdraw his arm, pushing forwards and driving the Saiyan further into the ground.
What say you now?
He cackled.
Me?
Despite his arms having been smashed out of the attack's familiar position, Goku's power continued to increase. Buu blinked.
What the?
Goku's legs swung up, feet positioned right in front of Buu's face.
Yeah!
His blue ki blast emerged from the soles of his feet, hurling Buu backwards and bringing him to the ground. Buu jumped to his feet, trying desperately to heal his hideously burned face, but Goku was already dashing at him again, throwing his power pole into the air in front of him. He jumped, kicking off one end and propelling himself at Buu. He tackled the monster bodily, but his momentum didn't last, and Buu backhanded him away into the air.
Power pole extend!
Goku commanded as he sailed away, and it did. The magical staff, having fallen slightly so as now to be almost horizontal, grew rapidly, piercing right through Buu's stomach and out his back. Goku caught the other end, tugging on it and flipping Buu to the ground again, before retracting the weapon and diving at Buu with it held two-handed. Buu rolled away from Goku's diving strike, throwing a back kick up at his infuriating enemy and driving him away, giving himself space. Buu stood quickly, focusing on regeneration for a moment.
Enough of your games! I'll end you now!
Goku raised his weapon in response. A warrior salute. A challenge. Just try. Buu flung out his aura, building up his energy.
Prepare yourself! What now?
His golden sparking Super Saiyan glow faded and vanished abruptly, and his power level dropped considerably.
You can't be serious!
Right on schedule, Goku exclaimed, grinning mischievously. I knew Break Super Saiyan 3 power wouldn't last forever.
We're playing for time!
Yep.
Don't be foolish,
Buu said, eyes narrowed menacingly.
I'm still far stronger than you, even with only Piccolo's power added to mine.
Oh, you're stronger than me, yeah. Goku rolled his shoulders, clicked his neck, then fixed his gaze back on Buu. But not that much stronger.
Kaioken! Times!
Buu's face froze.
Oh hell. 4!
Goku's red aura leapt back to life, larger and more intense than ever. The rapidly darkening skies lit up with the unearthly light. The next thing Buu knew, he was flying back, his head now adorned by something better described as a dent than a face. The next thing he knew, he was knocked upwards. A blinking red light was growing larger at the end of his vision. The next, he was knocked back down. And the next thing Majin Buu knew, for quite some time after that, was pain. Such speed and intensity, Kibito marveled. Kaioshin agreed wholeheartedly. Amazing! I never suspected that anyone could do this to Buu. Old Kai sat for a second, eyes closed, mulling it over. Then, slowly he looked up and shook his head, instantly silencing the other two Shinjen. Sorry, he said. It's not going to be enough. Buu reeled from yet another impossibly strong blow. He'd lost count. His opponent was an unstoppable force of nature, it seemed, and defeat was growing near. Then, he felt it. A momentary faltering, a slight flicker, mistake, weakness. Buu didn't wait or think. He struck, catching Goku with all the combined momentum of both of their attacks. They tumbled to the ground together, grappling, clawing at each other and letting loose intense, short-ranged energy bursts. Buu's antenna found a hold, tossing Goku off. Buu scrambled away, putting some distance between himself and this impossible fighter.
You!
He stared at Goku's defiant figure, almost unable to believe what he'd been put through because of this one simple martial artist.
I will not stand for this!
What's the matter? Goku panted. You that childish? Can't accept someone who can actually stand up to you for once. Something strange seemed to be happening to Buu.
Don't mock me! I am Majin Buu!
Oh, good point. Goku blinked. I forgot to introduce myself. He waved a cheery hand. Heya, I'm Goku.
You won't!
Buu said in a loud, strangled voice.
You won't get away with this humiliation!
His eyes began to glow an eerie red, and small electrical discharges crackled around his body. Just as I thought, Old Kai said miserably. Things are taking a turn for the worse. Then there is no hope. Kaioshin sat back, stunned. No one can defeat Majin Buu now. Not even Goku. Well, the old Kaioshin sat back and shrugged. We aren't really supposed to share these kinds of secrets with mortals. But I think Buu is a serious enough threat that we can bend some of the rules. What do you mean? Kibito asked carefully, not yet allowing himself to hope. Well, there are still quite a few powerful warriors alive around the earth. Old Kai reached up and took off his spherical earrings. If they fused with the Patara, I'm sure they'd have the power to beat Buu. What are you talking about? Kaioshin asked, staring blankly. Fuse? Old Kai sighed. Oh dear. You really don't know anything, do you, young one? That's it for chapter 86. I'll see you in chapter 87 in a few seconds. Stay tuned.
I won't! Buu shrieked. Stand for this!
Whoa, Goku said quietly. What a big baby. All because I'm stronger than him. The violent green electric storm building around Buu in a cage-like shape suddenly burst asunder, scattering into the surrounding air and hanging there, hissing and popping menacingly. His eyes blazed red like twin furnaces.
Yeah!
A biting wave of force flooded out from Buu in every direction, hurling Goku away. Buu began to thrash around madly, totally losing control. Spittle flew from his mouth, and his fingernails dug into his palms until a thick, purple blood-like substance dripped from them. Goku had to make an effort to stand. The planet's instability, combined with Buu's antics, was buffeting him in every direction. What's going on? He was, at least, glad for a break in the fighting, in order to recover some energy, something he was dangerously low on. Explosions broke out at random spots around them, smashing up the already pulverized ground. Green lightning flickered. Buu's unearthly scream of frustration continued. Listen closely, because I'm only explaining this once, Old Kai said, tapping the earrings he and the other two Shinjen wore. These are Patara earrings. If one person wears one on their right ear, and another person wears the other on their left ear, the two fuse and join bodies, creating a being that far surpasses the sum of its parts. Oh! Kaioshin exclaimed. I wish I'd known about this a long time ago. But in any case, that's great! That might be our shot at defeating Buu. Just maybe, Old Kai agreed. It's how I got like this, you know. He paused to make sure they were listening. I was young and handsome once. Then an old witch went and stole one of my earrings. She didn't know what it was for, and put it on. And since then, I've looked like this. He shrugged. It did do wonders for my magical skills, though. Since then, I've been able to perform my power unlocking ritual. He unclipped his earrings, nodding to the pair of listeners. Why don't you two give it a try? Alright. Kaioshin took off his right earring, handing it to Kibito, who removed both of his. Like this? The servant hesitantly put Kaioshin's Patara on his right ear. As soon as he did so, a great irresistible force began to pull the two of them together. Ah! Kibito gasped. They slammed together and were transmuted into a burst of green light. When it faded, a new being stood before Old Kai. This Shinjen wore Kibito's outfit, but in physical appearance was very similar to Kaioshin. The only noticeable difference being his long silver hair, which flowed straight down his back in the manner of Kibito's. He was also notably alive, bearing no halo above his head. Wow, he murmured, inspecting himself. Interesting, Old Kai said speculatively. I suppose you're called Kibito Kai or some such. The new Shinjen shook his head. No, my name is Kibitoshin, though I'm not sure how I know that with such certainty. But never mind that. He flexed his arms. I have such power now! I can fight now! Maybe Goku and I together can— I know it's what you're best at, but don't be foolish, Old Kai warned. You're still no match for Buu. He'd chew you up and spit you out. Now, take my Patara, and go give them to somebody. There must be a couple of fighters on that planet worth fusing together, and with warriors like that, the resulting fusion won't need any help polishing off Buu. Of course, Kibitoshin agreed. The fusion does so much for me. Think what it'll do for fighters like them. He paused. Say, how long does this last? Weren't you paying attention? It's permanent. Wait, what? Raditz and Launch, utterly drained, had actually fallen asleep despite the chaos shaking the earth, but were jolted into wakefulness by a hand on each of their shoulders, and a rush of energy. What? Launch sprung to her feet. I'm back to 100%! Yeah, me too, Raditz said slowly, turning around. Thanks, who are you? Kibitoshin. I'm the fusion of the Supreme Kind Kibito. He held out Old Kai's Patara earrings, offering a brief explanation. Fantastic! Raditz breathed. Sounds kinda like the fusion dance the Metamorands used. I met a couple of them in the afterlife, but I just didn't have the patience to learn their silly dances. Besides, there wasn't anyone similar enough for me to fuse with. Though I did like their dress sense. Similarity won't be a problem, Kibitoshin promised. The Batara can fuse any two beings, as long as they have ears, I guess. Alright, thanks. Raditz took the Batara, closing his hand protectively around them. I guess I should fuse with the strongest person possible, so that'd be Goku. I better get going. He'll be too tired to fight soon enough. I don't know, Launch said. I can imagine the arguments Chi-Chi and I'd have if you and Goku became one person. Raditz grinned. Oh, don't worry. We can just defuse afterwards, right? Kibitoshin's face flushed. I may have forgotten to mention. It's sort of permanent. Wait, what? With the roar, Buu flung the green bolts outwards. They seemed to strike the very sky itself, tearing open great green rents in the heavens, which pulsed with the same sickly hue. Unbelievable! Goku could barely stand up under the barrage of force he was being subjected to. What the hell is this? Old Kai spluttered. Buu's tearing at the walls of the universe itself! The fabric of reality is still damaged after Janemba's attack and Raditz's stunt earlier. This could be catastrophic! Indeed, it was. The already weakened state of the universe was further shaken by Buu's tantrum. Bolts of energy were fired directly into the heart of the time stream, and his terrible scream of rage was sent spiraling back up the river of time with them, passing unnoticed, until it came to a slight crease, a wrinkle in time almost. A point when the magic of the Namekian wishing dragons had interacted with the flow of time in an unpredictable way. This impression, this horrific sample of the terror that was Majin Buu, struck the exposed slice of the past right as Bulma placed her hand on Cell's stolen time machine. An impression that, in the highly ordered mind of a scientist, might be gleaned as numerical data, a measure of time perhaps, whereas in the mind of a spiritually awakened fighter, more emotive, personal information could come through. Images, voices. The rest, as they say, though it is doubtful anyone knows who they are, is history. The effects of this were felt in the present. Gohan was shaken awake by a stabbing, burning sensation in his forehead. What? This is like the visions! I'm getting the same feeling. Though he felt sick and weary to his bones, he stood. What's happening over there? Goku shielded his eyes, looking up at Buu. Man, as soon as he calms down, he's going to start kicking my ass. I'm just about beat. Then again, if he keeps this up, he could finish what Gohan started. Raditz was always one for dramatic entrances. Instant transmission had its benefits. This was not the first, not even the first against Majin Buu, but it was undoubtedly the most spectacular. Dragon Fist! The gigantic golden dragon, wreathed in flames, emerged from the Super Saiyan 3's fist, roaring a primal battle cry and crashing into Buu. It tore right through his corona of light, shattering and instantly ending his warping, distorting effect on reality, clamping its teeth around his head and shoulders and soaring down into the ground, creating an explosion the size of a small city. Raditz lowered his arm, flying down and landing next to Goku, breathing heavily, but exhilarated, aura still shining. He managed to increase the efficiency of the technique since Janemba, if not the power. How is that then? He asked triumphantly. Goku frowned. Cool, but how'd you learn my technique? Your technique? Raditz asked, taken aback. I invented it myself. Wait. If we both know it, that means there's dreams, Goku muttered. They were... I will end you! Buu roared, fully regenerated. Save that for later, Raditz said quickly. If you knew it, why not use it already? Well, the dragon's bite is a really powerful piercing attack, but it just punched a couple of holes so he could heal, and the actual explosion wouldn't be powerful enough to bring down Buu. Honestly, if I could just nail him with a ×10 Kamehameha, it'd be much better. Right. Raditz raised his arm, gripping his bicep with the other hand. How about 2 dragons? That might just do it! You get behind him! Gotcha! Raditz teleported away again. We might not even have to fuse. Goku drew back his arm. Alright, Buu! Come and get it! He didn't start building his energy yet. He knew in this powered up state he could release as much as he needed in an instant. I never could put in the required energy trigger for this technique before. I just wasn't strong enough. But now, the muscles in his arms bunched and rippled as he waited for Buu to get close enough. Buu certainly obliged in that regard. Reason had flown from his mind. He didn't care that one of his targets had vanished, as long as he had something to crush. He charged up blazing red energy spheres in both hands.
You will suffer!
Goku's smile suddenly vanished, serious face returning.
You single-handedly slaughtered almost everyone I cared about. You don't think I've suffered enough, you bastard!
His arm shot forwards, energy bursting to life.
Ryuken!
Strangely enough, the dragon that roared forth looked exactly like Raditz's. And strangely enough, it had exactly the same amount of power as Raditz's. Buu panicked, flinging his charged up attacks, but they were smashed aside. This time, he wasn't caught by surprise though, and he took the dragon's charge head on. It shoved him backwards, shuddering left and right slightly as Buu resisted its onslaught with all his might. Raditz watched Buu approached. He was still at over half power, and should be able to maintain Super Saiyan 3 even after this for a minute or two.
Okay, now, Dragon Fist!
At the exact moment Buu's back was open to attack, nothing happened. Raditz stared at his arm for a second, bewildered. What? Why isn't it working? Buu, meanwhile, had wrapped his arms around the dragon's neck and wrestled it to the ground. It swerved around, his snapping jaws shearing a leg off and shredding the severed limb, but Buu shoved it away two-handed and survived the resulting explosion with only minor burns. Raditz cursed silently. For whatever reason, it didn't work. I guess there's nothing for it. Goku, catch! Put it on your left ear! He threw one Potara earring down to Goku, who caught it. We'll fuse and we'll have the power to beat Buu. Unfortunately, it's permanent, but I understand. Goku fastened the earring to his left ear. We do what we have to. This is a gift from the Kaioshins, isn't it? Yeah, the Buu, having regenerated, crashed into Raditz from the side, driving his knee into the Super Saiyan's chest and catapulting him into the rumbling ground. The second Potara hung momentarily on the point of falling, but Buu snatched it out of the air.
What's this? Goku's wearing one all of a sudden. Whatever these are, there must be some kind of weapon they're planning to use against me. Well, no matter, Buu said, grinning. Your power level hasn't risen at all yet, so I'm guessing they're only of use in conjunction with each other. Once I crush this one, you'll be back to where you started. Somewhat ironically, at your end. I should thank them for this little comeback, really. I was lost in my rage, dangerously close to reverting to him coming out to play.
His fingers began to tighten around the earring, and then he couldn't feel them. Gohan, Super Saiyan 3 hair streaming out behind him, energy beam sword in hand, appeared mid-motion, post-slash, in front of Buu. Buu's severed hand tumbled uselessly away, and Gohan swiped the Potara from its twitching grip before Buu could regain control of the appendage. To stop Buu taking him out as quickly as he had done Raditz, Gohan made a series of rapid shifting jumps to the ground. He held up the Potara, extinguishing his beam sword and hurriedly attaching the earring to his right ear. Like this, right Dad? He asked. I heard most of what you were saying. We'll fuse into one being, right? Yeah, that's it. Goku agreed, feeling the tugging force pulling father and son towards each other as the Potara reacted. Buu, having recovered from his surprise, was racing down towards them.
So that was their plan! Well, it matters little. Their power, however high, is mine!
He transmuted his body into an amorphous, flowing state, aiming to absorb the pair even as they fused.
Gohan, no!
Raditz hissed, pushing himself up out of the dirt.
It's permanent, you fool!
Gohan, now less than a foot from Goku, blinked. Wait, what? At that moment, they met in a splash of green light. The next moment, Buu was upon them, and they were gone. That's it for chapter 87. I'll see you in chapter 88 in a few seconds. Stay tuned. Raditz stared up at the bizarre scene. Majin Buu had just absorbed Goku and Gohan at the exact moment that they'd fused with the magical Potara earrings. Yet Buu didn't appear to have changed at all, and was equally confused, blinking as he glanced down at himself and found no new appearance or surge of power. What happened? Raditz wondered, and the exact same thought was burning in Buu's ancient, malevolent mind. Raditz, however, would have felt a lot more confident had the action not drowned out a single word. A very important word. A word spoken in a voice both familiar and alien to him. A voice like Goku and his son speaking in unison. That word was...
Barrier!
Inside Buu, within one of the many pink, fleshy corridors, shrunken down to fit inside Buu's body, and surrounded by an energy barrier to prevent absorption, stood a Saiyan. He wore an eclectic mix of orange and blue, and his hair stuck out in all directions, some marking upwards overhead, some hanging down his neck. His face and body were an adult's, but his eyes twinkled with the energy of youth. The Batara dangled like Christmas baubles from his ears. A furry tail twisted around behind him. Well, he said contemplatively in his double voice, I suppose that makes me... Goku... Han? Wait, Gokhan! Yeah, that's it! He took a deep breath, trying to adapt to his new body. Okay, just don't think of Chi-Chi. That'd be confusing. Anyway, he tilted his head sideways. Positives. Buu doesn't know where I am, who I am, or even what I am. I've got Goku's fighting smarts and Gohan's book smarts. And an aura fired up around him. I'm up to here in power! The cascading waves of energy flashed yellow, interspersed with jagged red bolts. Super Kaioken! Goku may have had trouble combining the two, but for me, nothing's impossible. He raised one hand towards the ceiling. Full-sized, I'd be the most powerful being in the universe by far. Even at this size, I'm betting I can still make a dent. Yeah! An expanding wave of energy exploded from his hand, tearing through the ceiling and ripping through Buu's insides like nothing. Raditz was just then wondering if he should try and distract Buu, or run away, or at least do something. Buu had just made up his mind that whatever was going on with this strange mess of absorption, he should probably eliminate Raditz before he can make himself a further nuisance. They're both brought to a mental screeching halt as Buu's chest exploded outwards. Ha! Raditz was the first to realize. Looks like you've bitten off more than you can chew this time, Buu. Now you've got a fusion running around inside of you. Just a little too late to absorb them. Buu focused on regenerating his body, his energy recovering much slower.
They fused successfully and resisted my absorption. The kind of damage he could do running loose in there.
Gokhan lowered his arm, powering down. Alright, now what? I'm still too small to destroy him completely, so I guess I could blast another hole and leave. That should hopefully return me to full size. But then again, Break and TN are still in here. I guess I should rescue them before I go. The first thing though, he wiped his forehead, panting. Keeping up this barrier is pretty draining, and he's not trying to absorb me anymore. Cautiously, he lowered the barrier. Initially, nothing happened, but the anticipation didn't last long. Almost immediately, Gokhan was struck with a tearing pain down the center of his head, spreading down throughout his body, as if he was being pulled in two. A flash of green light followed, and when the slowly pulsing dark of Buu's insides returned, two people stood in place of the previous one. Goku and Gohan, each wearing one Patara earring, stared at each other. Hey, I'm me again, Goku said, somewhat redundantly. Gohan curiously fingered the earring. Yet, we're still wearing these. What happened? I guess something about Buu's insides counteracts the enchantment on the earrings. I suppose he is enchanted himself. Weird. He shrugged. You think we should try raising another barrier and fusing again? Not yet. Gohan answered quickly. I think if we can find some way of defeating or weakening Buu from in here, that'd be better. We could beat him without having to be stuck as one being forever. Good point. Goku took off his Patara. In which case, we shouldn't have him on unless we're set on fusing, just in case different parts of Buu's body work differently or something. And let's try and find our friends and get him out before we leave. Anyway, let's get moving. He decided, and yet didn't, pausing and turning back to Gohan. Any idea where we're heading? The brain? Gohan suggested. Or whatever's inside his head. That seems like a good place to start. Goku nodded. Right, makes sense. Don't know exactly where we are, so just head uphill, I guess. It didn't take long for Buu to find them. Maybe 5 minutes of trudging through corridors had passed, when they first encountered Buu's internal defense mechanism. Both Saiyans stared in surprise as a humanoid figure appeared out at the end of the corridor, moving in an eerily familiar gait. It stepped out of the shadows, leering. An exact copy of Majin Buu, as he'd been before absorbing anyone, recreated in miniature within his own body in perfect detail.
Found you!
What the? Gohan took a step back, watching the copy warily. Is this like human immune cells? Buu's body reacting to fight off outside invaders? Or is he doing this consciously? He prepared to power up as the thing stalked closer. Wait, Goku held out a hand. Relative to us at this size, its keys like Buu's before he started absorbing people. You couldn't quite handle him then. Let me. Gohan nodded, thankfully. Alright, Dad. Truth be told, even the thought of having to go up against any form of Buu again was giving him the chills. He was a little ashamed of this. He wished his resolve wouldn't sometimes falter like this. His father's, he knew, never did.
You'll never leave here!
Buu hissed, then sprung. Goku shrugged. Threefold! He shouted at the last moment, intercepting Buu's charge with a backhand swipe that sent Buu careening off into the wall. Its body warped slightly, then began to regenerate. Goku swung a hand in its direction, firing off a ki that blasted it apart. Yeah! This time, it didn't heal, damaged pieces melting away into the fleshy walls and floor. I see, Gohan noted. These copies can't stay together if you do enough damage. It wasn't long before they were attacked again. Buu was tracking their movements now. This time, 3 Buus descended upon them at once in a tall, cylindrical chamber. Gohan, stay back! Goku warned. Dad, you need to save your energy, Gohan countered. When we get out of here, we still might have to deal with him. You're our best shot. He powered up to Super Saiyan 3, sending a shudder all the way up Majin Buu's spine, and blocked the nearest mini Buu. At least let me take this one. Alright. Goku leapt into the air as the other 2 fired energy beams at the spot he'd just been standing. Burning ore flashing into life, he dived back at them. Gohan found himself fighting defensively, icicles of fear digging into his mind every time he saw those hollow eyes, every time he went to attack. The previous battle with the real Buu kept weighing on his mind, the overwhelming hopelessness, desperation, the ultimate futility. Finally, the Buu made a mistake too large to ignore, creating an opening he'd have to have been blind to miss. Gohan's eyes narrowed, right fist clenching and glowing with power. I'm not afraid of you! This Buu was fast, frighteningly so, but unskilled, and Gohan's punch sent it sprawling to the floor before it could coordinate a defense. Gohan let adrenaline carry him forward, unrelenting. He shot a beam sword from one hand, stabbing through Buu's neck and dragging it to its feet, before pinning it against a wall. He slammed his other hand flat into his stomach, forcing a wave of ki through it. Kamehameha! The explosion disintegrated Buu's midsection, and blew its legs through the wall, and Gohan finished by slicing its head from its shoulders before extinguishing the sword. As he'd hoped, this was enough, and the rest of the monstrosity dissolved into a congealing puddle on the floor. A crash from above him signaled Goku's fairly decisive victory over his 2 opponents, but the older Saiyan was now running dangerously low on power. Goku dropped unsteadily to the ground, doubling over and taking in deep gasps of air. Gohan powered down, trying to conserve his own energy, and right at this moment, with the 2 of them at their most unprepared, another Buu formed itself out of the ground behind him, snarling and raising its arms to strike. Before either Saiyan could react though, a gaping hole blew itself through the Buu copy's chest, followed by more and still more, until it was completely blasted to pieces. Behind it, raised hands still smoking from repeated ki blasts, stood, strangely enough, another inner Buu. Gohan tensed, then immediately relaxed. This Buu's eyes were encircled by familiar red rings. Baby! Goku realized, laughing joyously. You're controlling that thing! I am. Baby spoke with Buu's voice. He inclined its head, listening, feeling. More are coming! Follow this body, quickly! Explaining to the other in rushed, snatched sentences to the circumstances which had brought them, alive, inside of Majin Buu to each other, they rushed down a twisting, lightless maze of corridors. Occasionally, the tramp of footsteps would echo ahead or behind, and Baby, or Buu, would scramble off down a side passage, beckoning for them to follow. How do you know where you're going? Gohan asked at one point, breathless. I'm just sensing my way back to the others, Baby's host explained. Others? Gohan trailed off as they reached a larger chamber, which he soon realized was in fact just several tunnels with walls knocked in, creating a larger area. The organic walls had, after being torn down, been assembled in a ring around the position, and were currently being used as cover by a group of 20 or more baby-possessed Buus, which crouched behind them. Every few seconds, movement would be seen down a distant corridor, and the 3 or 4 closest to it would jump up and open fire, driving the potential attacker away. The Buu that had guided the Saiyans there now dragged a collapsed wall section into place behind them, and took up position guarding the spot where they'd come in. In the center of the whole operation stood Baby himself, directing the operations mentally, sometimes accompanied by a nod of the head or a frown. Hey, Gohan waved to the mechanical Tuffle scientist, then felt slightly silly, as they'd already met just now. You aren't using one of them as a main body? Baby shook his head. No, they're not fully complex life forms, more constructs created by Buu. This simple control is all I can manage. Still, on the bright side, they're easier to fight. Their regeneration is easy to overload, they can't absorb people, and they haven't been physically or mentally upgraded when Buu himself absorbed people. Except for the fat Buu in the ancient Kaioshins, I guess. But they must have been one being so long that they're metabolized or something. He realized he was going off on a tangent, and stopped sheepishly. Goku attempted to steer the conversation back in a useful direction. We're trying to find some way to damage or weaken Buu before we go back outside and fight him. Any ideas? I was actually trying to get up to the brain myself. I'm pretty sure the people he's absorbed are up there. If we remove them, that might weaken him. Unfortunately, I can only control so many people at the same time if I have to do all the thinking for them, like these idiots, so I'm pretty much constantly outnumbered. Eventually, I got pinned down here, but superior skill in defensive positions meant I could drive them off. They've been more cautious since then. He pointed down a corridor to their left. However, now you're here, we might have a shot at this. If we break out in that direction, my guys can cover you so you can get to the absorbees. And maybe we'll find something else to mess with while we're there, Gohan pointed out. Sounds like a plan. The sooner the better, Baby said anxiously. They're massing their forces. I think they're going to try another charge, and there's way too many to hold this time. How can Buu even create so many mini-me's in here anyway? Goku wondered. Gohan turned Super Saiyan, trying to make it as quick as possible to reach full power if he got jumped again. If I had to guess, I'd say it's something to do with the multiform technique. Buu knows it now, and while they're tough relative to us, at this size each one can't use up much energy to take. Let's go! Baby urged, and they began to move uphill. A screen of possessed Buus moved in front and behind, and the Saiyans took up flanking positions to protect Baby. No sooner had they abandoned their position than a great roar, a multitude of voices crying out for blood, echoed down the tunnel behind them. A tide of pink bodies appeared around the bend in hot pursuit, and the invading group broke into a sprint. Gohan turned, still running, and after hurriedly going Super Saiyan 2, fired a machine gun volley of energy beams at the ceiling, bringing a large section down into the passageway. It wasn't long before their pursuers smashed through the obstruction, but it took enough time to widen the gap. Pink beams began to scream through the air at them, blowing searing holes in the tunnel walls and frying the ground at their feet. They returned fire, the Saiyans' long years of training and Baby's pre-programmed skill providing them with far superior marksmanship to the horde of the unenhanced Buus, who, like their originator pre-absorptions, had power but lacked the skill to use it to its full potential. The group's combined fire scythed through the entire front rank of the onrushing pink tide, blasting dozens apart, many beyond their ability to regenerate. Even those who lived on were trampled underfoot by those behind, and set back in their pursuit by precious minutes. Finally, just as the faint key signatures of their absorbed friends were becoming clear in their minds up ahead, the corridor in that direction seemed to open out into a brighter chamber. The pursuing group had fallen far behind, their goal was less than 100 meters away, which was when the opening, directly ahead of them, was flooded with quite literally hundreds of Buu copies. This is just getting ridiculous, Goku moaned. We have to go straight through, Baby said grimly. And quickly, or the ones behind us will catch up and this will go from hard to impossible. Straight through this? Gohan gawked, fear rising in his stomach again. An army of this thing, when I can barely even handle one. Gohan! Goku was looking back sternly at him. Come on, now or never. Doubt had never entered into his mind, of course. This was simply a fight. This was what he did. What he was. Gohan took a deep breath. Alright. He let his Super Saiyan 3 power well up to the surface, illuminating the dim corridor, golden light gleaming off countless pairs of hollow eyes. Hair swirled out behind him, his skin glowing with barely contained energy. He gritted his teeth and charged after his father and their unlikely allies into the sea of snarling horrors. I'm not afraid of you! It's a shame that Gohan didn't have as much of a presence as Vegito did in Dragon Ball Z. I was actually looking forward to Gohan coming into the fold. But Dragon Ball Super wasn't a thing back then, so we didn't have a cop-out of 1 hour to save us. Oops. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you for listening to chapters 86, 87, and 88. Tune in next week, where we'll continue this strange journey inside Buu's body. Will Gohan, Goku, and Baby be able to save their friends? Will they be able to get out? Or will they become more victims of Buu's rampage? Find out next week. Don't forget to like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Tell your friends. Follow me on Twitter to keep up to date with the show. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe. Ginger Powers signing off.